managing an international speaker. Many of you who listen to these podcasts wrote me emails and said, I'm on the booking side of booking speakers, or other people say, hey, I am now at the stage where I need someone who manages my business professionally. And so I thought, with all the questions you sent me, it might be the best idea to talk to someone who has a lot of experience managing an international speaker. She managed legend Doug Stevenson, who most of you will know. He has been on my podcast talking about stories and the stories theater method. Hello and welcome, Deborah Merriman.
Hello, great to be here.
Thank you very much for taking the time. So you manage an international speaker for a long time. When you talk to customers, to clients, and many clients, of course, especially when they want Doug, who is in high demand, they want to be easy to work with. But I think not every one of them truly understands how can you be a good client and easy to work with. So what is your experience? What people should look out for? What are the usual traps they fall for? What is working well? What's not working that well? Let's focus on the positives first. What is the most important? What is the most important opening, the most important pieces of communication you need to get everything managed professionally?
Well, one of the key elements is to determine who is my main contact, and also to let them know that I am their main contact for all of the logistics and all of the scheduling. Mm-hmm. So once we establish that key relationship, then, everything can go a whole lot more smoothly. I set up the appointments for the client to speak directly to Doug, but I want him to speak to the person who is in charge of the content aspect of the meeting, not the logistics of the meeting. I handle that directly myself. So that's one of the first things is figuring out who does what in their organization and letting them know who does what in our organization. One of the things that Doug and I had to clarify very early on when I started working with our business is the clear delineation of our duties. Mm-hmm. Because if Doug starts talking calendar with somebody and I'm working calendar with somebody else, you can see how that could be a conflict very quickly.
Yeah.
So between the speaker and the administrator, if you will, or the manager of the speaker, clear delineation of duties, who does what, and communication to let each other know where we're at in that communication so that, the right hand knows what the left hand is doing.
Mm. So when you think of the last years and decades when you managed Doug, were there moments where you said organizations sometimes, maybe even without knowing, were there moments where they said, you have done something which really either harmed the relationship or which really is not helpful to get everything running smoothly?
Yes, I wouldn't say that anything harmed the relationship because people are people and people make mistakes and communication gets dropped. But there have been situations which would be embarrassing, I guess, would be the right word.
For example?
Where I've had a communication with the client about what Doug is going to do or what Doug's availability is. And then Doug has another communication with the client. And it's like, I already told them this and he told them something different. And it just makes us look sloppy, But like I said, most people are very forgiving about things like that because people are human. And I've had the same things happen on the receiving end as well. Getting mixed communications. So cleaning that up as quickly as possible is key.
So when we now talk about having contact to customers, there's of course one aspect I have to talk about. Let's just assume I am company XYZ. I am contacting you and I said, Deborah, we really want to have Doug. And I looked at your proposal, and you can probably think what I'm going to say next, but there's one issue. We have to lower the fee. It's just outside our budget. So what is the right reaction when that happens, that someone says, we want to have you on stage, we want to have you for our convention, but please do it for 20, 30, 40, 50% less than you ask for?
In that case, I will tell them, what are you proposing? What have you paid speakers in the past, or what is your budget? And I will discuss this with Doug, or I'll set up a call directly between the client and Doug.
Mm-hmm.
And this goes back to that clear delineation of duties. I take care of the calendar, I take care of the contract, I take care of all of the hotel, travel, logistics, communications with the client, except in the area of the final negotiations and the content itself. So I will always kind of be the go-between between the client and Doug, as long as that's possible. But if Doug is going to choose to lower his fee, he needs to be the one to do that in direct contact with the client.
So when we now face a situation that maybe a speaker now started their business and it's growing and growing and growing, and then they see, okay, I need someone to manage me. We all know, because we met in Amsterdam and Washington, all these different places, we know how often speakers struggle to find the right manager. Many of them hire someone. After 3 to 6 months, normally the relationship falls apart because it was not really a fit. And then they try for years to find the right person. So what should speakers look for when they hire someone who manages their business? From your point of view, with your experience, what do you think are the most important aspects speakers should look for when they look for their personal manager?
I would say high organization skills and a very high attention to detail. There are some, automated systems available now for managing speakers, where you can just, have an online system where you just input data. But we have found that the best way to keep track of everything is with paper forms that we keep, so that each of us can see these forms at any moment's notice and see what is the process, where it's at in the process, what the details are. And I think having a clear intake form with the client, and that is a lot of details, a lot of questions, a lot of boxes to tick, and also a clear booking checklist once the booking has been agreed upon. Again, with brainstorming all of the aspects that go into, from start to finish, what's involved with that booking and with the client relationship. And someone who is diligent and pays enough attention to the details to follow that format. Because it's when you kind of start getting comfortable with this and you start winging it and you start doing things without documenting every piece that you can run into trouble. You can think you booked the flight and find out that it didn't happen.
That's bad indeed. Yeah. So when we now look at the approaches towards customer contact, client contact, there are, of course, two worlds. Some of them say you should be available 24/7, which means answer as quickly as possible at any point in time given, even when they call you in the middle of the night. And others say you have certain office hours, you need your time off, and you need to focus on that as well. So what would be your recommendation? Because we all know that this 24/7 approach easily can cause that you have no time off at all anymore. What is your experience about that? Should you answer immediately 7 days a week, or are you more the fan of the approach to say we have office hours and we stick to them?
I think everybody deserves to have time when they are not beholden to the business. So we do stick with a general, Monday through Friday timeframe. However, there are times when, something is needed. Somebody has a presentation coming up on Monday, and something has come up that they needed some more information in order to present Doug to get a booking or something of that nature. So I do have a lot of flexibility in that regard. I highly value my family time and my time off, but if I am available, I will respond during off hours, so to speak. Now, on the other side of that, when it comes to my managing Doug's calendar, I am very clear what his availability is and when he is having time off.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if he travels internationally, I know that there's going to be prep time where he cannot take another booking, and there's going to be time days after he returns when his schedule has to be extremely light or completely blank. And in the early days, I do also remember that I would designate 2 weekend days for him, whether it was on the weekend or not, because sometimes he would have to be traveling on a Sunday or he would be traveling home on a Saturday. So we would designate, okay, this week, Tuesday and Wednesday is your weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a lot of flexibility in that, but if you do not protect your downtime, your personal time, your rejuvenation time, and family time, then you can really get in trouble. I think that takes an emotional toll, a mental toll, and you have to ask yourself, is that the kind of lifestyle you want to live?
Absolutely. And I think we've seen many people in the industry who, I don't want to say brag, although they might have done so for a certain period in time, but we know the people who said, oh, I have 250, 300 speeches a year. And a couple of years later, their situation didn't look great, either from a family point of view, mental health point of view, or a physical point of view. So and that is, of course, now a very specific question. Were there moments where simply due to the amount of speaking gigs, you would say, sorry, it's downtime. We know you have a convention, but the answer is no. Would you turn down business for necessary time off?
Yes. Now, obviously, there's conflict when somebody wants a date and Doug is, literally can't get there because he's traveling or he's doing another presentation. That's one aspect. But sometimes when it was just too tight, it's like, you've got 3 bookings, you're traveling from this place to that place to that place. It would not be wise for you, for Doug, in terms of his health, but also it would not be serving the client to the best that we know how to try to squeeze in one more booking when Doug has been traveling and doing several bookings in a row. We learned the hard way, because I remember there were times when we did a lot in a compressed period of time and paid the price for it, just in the exhaustion that would follow. So it's very difficult because sometimes you'll accept, a booking here, there, and then something really attractive comes up and you can't cancel something that you've already committed to. So you just have to, have your boundaries and hopefully try to reschedule.
Absolutely.
Fine. Is there any other possible date that this could be done?
I think these are the perfect final words. We see that not only managing time, but also managing many aspects beyond time and calendar are very important when it comes to managing an international speaker. I think these were great insights here for many people, not only from the booking side, but also from the speaking side, because I know that many speakers are also listening to this podcast and wonder, what should I do when I find my manager? So at the end of this podcast, there's only one thing for me left to say. Deborah, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Niels. It's a pleasure being with you.